Hi, and welcome to The Lamp in the Library. I'm Graham.
I'm Kim.
And today we're going to be talking about a classic, suspenseful page-turner of a novel. Published first in 1938, it has never gone out of print. It's beloved by generations of readers. I'm talking about Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I just finished this book. Kim, you read it
A few years ago.
Today we're going to be looking into this book, why it's beloved, and our review of it. Mm-hmm. First of all, I just want to note that this particular edition from Argo Press, absolutely beautiful cover.
Yeah.
Good job there. Okay, so Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is a beloved book. It focuses on an unnamed narrator who is orphaned, no family connections, no money. She is in Monte Carlo and she meets a man twice her age, and after a few weeks they get married and they go back to his country estate in England called Manderley, and she becomes Mrs. De Winter. But she is the second Mrs. De Winter because the first Mrs. De Winter died less than a year before under potentially mysterious circumstances. Ooh. And the first half of the novel focuses on the second Mrs. De Winter living in the shadow of the first Mrs. De Winter, whose name, by the way, is Rebecca from the title. And how Rebecca was beloved and classy, beautiful. So the second Mrs. De Winter really feels that she's living in the shadow of this person and feels she doesn't compare. And then as the novel progresses, we start to look into what happened to Rebecca. And that's all I'll say, because we don't want to spoil this novel, which you definitely should get into. It's one of those novels that hooks you from the get-go and puts you under its spell. And it's a really suspenseful page-turner. What did you think, Kim?
Yeah, I picked it up a few years ago. As I mentioned in a previous video, it was when I was suffering from a reading slump at the time, which for me meant I just couldn't find anything that I wanted to finish. And I decided to give Rebecca a go, and it really hooked me from the very start. A lot of it has to do with Daphne du Maurier's writing style. She's very evocative of setting and place in her writing. You get really intrigued by the characters at first. It's very much a psychological suspense, and as you're getting hooked into these characters and sort of unraveling their relationships and their story, then the mystery sort of grows, so it hooks you in that way too. So it sort of has these two different threads that really propel you forward as you're reading. And there's also a really great character named Mrs. Danvers, who works at Manderley, and she sort of plays with the narrator's mind throughout the novel, and is sort of, in some ways, the living person who maintains Rebecca's spirit within the house. And I liked that interplay with that character a lot. But no spoilers, we're not going to give anything away, but I will say one thing I really enjoyed about it as well as a genre, suspense or psychological suspense, there's a point a lot of times where you know where it's going, but I think Rebecca has some twists that are a legitimate surprise to most readers, but they're not also the kind of surprise that it doesn't make sense within the rest of the narrative, because then there's the other side of suspense where sometimes it feels like they're just throwing something in and then you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I think it's a really wonderful book, and it's the sort of book I would recommend to a lot of readers, because I think you'll get really hooked into it and enjoy it, and it's a good page turner for the summer.
Yeah, I think the twists in this are at some points shocking. Mm-hmm. Very shocking especially to a contemporary audience. And but Daphne du Maurier sets the groundwork perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it always feels organic to the story, the twists and turns that happen. I mean, as a genre, there's times where, as I said, it can feel like you're just forcing a turn within it or a twist. I can think of a book you recently read that it really didn't make sense and they tried to have a big twist in it.
Yes. The Cuckoo's Calling. Yes. That did not feel organic. Daphne du Maurier is definitely a great writer, and she really sets the groundwork and really pulls you in, and it's a really haunting, like Rebecca as a character, she just dominates the narrative and like haunts everything, and it's fascinating the way that this novel really makes her come alive, even though she's a character who's been dead for a year, and just very successful. There's a reason why this book has been a bestseller for so long. I think on the surface it's so compelling, but there's so much going on under the surface in this novel if you look for it. And I'm sure 1,000 honors theses in English literature have been written about this novel, and for good reason. There is a lot going on under the surface. Daphne du Maurier's biography can be brought in, lots and lots of interesting stuff around gender and sexuality, etc. But it works as a surface level, just kind of a beach read suspense novel as well. So this is a triumph. I'm glad you recommended I read this. A few very late nights with this book, and if you pick it up, you will not put it down.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that there is a film adaptation by Alfred Hitchcock. I've seen that when I saw it before I even read the book, but it was like years before, so I didn't totally remember everything. And then Graham's gonna watch it soon. I haven't seen the Netflix version, but I think it's worth noting the person that has the term Master of Suspense attached to his artistic career has turned to Daphne du Maurier's work more than once for the plots of his work.
We both really love this book. Have you read Rebecca? Have you seen the movie? Let us know in the comments what you thought of Rebecca, or if you plan to read this book.
Yeah, and just a quick update on what's happening for us. We are currently in the process of packing because we will be moving soon. So we are packing up our books, and it's really sad, and they're going to be going into storage for a while because we're sort of going to be between places. So it'll be interesting to see what books we decide to take with us and which ones we sadly have to say goodbye to for at least 6 months.
Maybe we'll share that agonizing choice of which books come with you and which go in storage in a future video. In the meantime, wish us luck with the moving process. It sucks, but I'm sure everyone has gone through it at least once. So
thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe below, and hit the bell so you always know when there's a new video.
Keep well.
Keep reading.